The story begins with a pair of hands cherishing a beautiful light purple dress with a white Peter Pan collar. The owner of the hands exclaims with utter joy that she has finally found it, the item she has been searching for so long. However, the joy is short-lived. In her excitement to pull the sleeve, a RIP sound rings out, signaling an unwanted accident. The young girl named Nona, with platinum blonde hair braided in a heart shape, stands frozen before the open closet. She realizes that the item had been stuffed too deep inside, leading to this unfortunate incident. Nona stares at the dress with a look of horror. The seam on the shoulder has come apart significantly. For a favorite outfit, this is truly a disaster, and her shocked expression clearly shows her anxiety about how to fix it in time. With no time to hesitate, Nona decides to act immediately. She holds a small object resembling incense in her hand, blowing gently on it to make smoke rise in a spiral shape. With a hurried and worried look, she mutters that she is in a rush, implying she needs this dress right now. Suddenly, the atmosphere around Nona changes. She raises her left hand decisively, her right hand holding a glowing wand that looks like a sewing needle. Her mouth chants the spell, Altoare, activating sewing magic, a special ability she is hiding. Immediately, magical threads begin to work. Nona moves with agility, pulling the needle and thread forcefully through the torn fabric. The rough but sturdy stitches quickly pull the edges of the fabric together, repairing the dress right on her arm in an instant. After fixing the outfit, Nona moves on to prepare her hair. She smiles and says "all right" to herself in the mirror. Then a hand pulls her braid down sharply. A snip sound rings out, indicating she is decisively adjusting her appearance to get ready to go out. At the same time, at the front door, a blonde woman is waving goodbye to Lancha, the mother or guardian of the house. Nona cracks her door open, secretly watching the farewell. Upon seeing the blonde woman leave, Nona's expression shifts from curiosity to utter surprise. At the entrance, a young girl, Lancha's child, has just returned home, announcing that they were let out early because there was some trouble outside. The woman named Nona appears with a surprised look, asking why the girl is back early from the flower shop. The girl's unexpected presence makes Nona a bit flustered. The reason for the early return is quickly revealed. The blonde woman explains with concern that the wizard living in the next block was arrested because neighbors saw them using magic. Hearing that the Magic Supervision Bureau has acted, the young black-haired girl nearby widens her eyes in horror, realizing the severity of the situation. The conversation continues with a heavy atmosphere. The woman with braids remarks that never using magic is bad for one's health too, so she can't blame the wizards who risked using it. The older woman holding a bag stands listening, seeming to agree with this bitter perspective. Although the situation outside is tense, Nona still decides to go out. She is held back by the blonde woman who advises her to stay indoors today. However, Nona reassures her that she is only going to return a book to Lovi and will be fine, despite the worry clearly visible on the other person's face. In Nona's mind, an image appears of a young man smiling gently beside a girl. His promise echoes back, "I promised your father that I would protect you." This promise seems to be a motivation or a burden that Nona is carrying. Before Nona walks out the door, the older woman standing on the stairs gives a stern warning. She reminds Nona absolutely not to use magic outside and to pretend to be a normal person while in town. This is a vital rule that Nona is forced to follow. Nona stands by the door, listening to the instruction, "I'll be back soon," from her guardian with a bored look. She replies, "I know," mechanically, feeling annoyed at hearing these repetitive reminders every time she leaves the house, but she understands their necessity. Nona steps outside, leaving the long-haired woman standing alone in the large room. The woman watches with worried eyes, standing next to a vase of blooming roses, hoping that Nona will return safely in a world full of danger for people like them. Just as she steps onto the street, Nona hears an announcement from the Magic Supervision Bureau ringing out. She stands frozen, feeling a chill as she hears the news. Around her, people are buzzing about the wizard in Block 16 being arrested, amazed that such a dangerous person had lived right near them without their knowledge. On the street, An officer on horseback uses a megaphone to announce loudly that the wizard has been arrested and transferred to the Uvral facility to reassure the citizens. He further explains that wizards can summon wands and cast magic, but the most terrifying thing is that they cannot be distinguished from ordinary people just by appearance. Nona walks amidst those announcements with a solemn face. Beside her is a bright red warning sign. Magic poses extreme danger to humans. This is the prejudice that this society imposes on her kind, forcing her to live in the shadows. The officer continues his speech, warning that wizards often disguise themselves as ordinary people and rarely reveal themselves. He calls on citizens to report immediately to the Magic Supervision Bureau if they see any suspicious activity, turning every neighbor into a potential spy. Amidst the bustling street with ancient architecture, Nona feels lost. The announcements about arrests and vigilance keep ringing in her ears, repeating like a reminder of the danger stalking her every second if she carelessly reveals her identity. Pushing aside her fear, Nona arrives at Lovi's door. She puts on a smile, trying to appear as normal as possible. A knock-knock sound rings out, and she calls out, "Hello? It's Nona," hoping to find peace with her close friend. The door opens. Nona enters a bit hurriedly and bumps lightly into the door, crying out, "Ouch!" Lovi, the friend with her hair in a bun, smiles radiantly to welcome Nona, saying she has been waiting for her. Lovi's warmth dispels some of the tension Nona just experienced on the street. Inside the house, Lovi's mother and another woman are talking. Lovi's mother complains that Lovi is a silly girl who lost her glasses. Lovi appears with a confused look when asked about the glasses, which explains why Nona came here in such a rush. A small argument breaks out in the kitchen. Lovi's mother offers to help find the glasses, but Lovi refuses, saying she will ask Nona for help and tells her mother to just do her work. Lovi's attitude causes the maid girl nearby to speak up in admonishment, but it also shows Lovi's absolute trust in Nona. Lovi's mother smiles, promising to bring snacks up for the two of them and apologizing to Nona for the noise. Nona responds politely, while Lovi beside her is grimacing, complaining that everything around her is blurry due to the lack of her important glasses. Upon reaching the room, Nona places the stack of books she borrowed on the table, completing her original excuse for leaving the house. She calls out to Lovi, who is standing looking around blankly because she cannot see clearly, confirming that she is here to help. Nona offers to help Lovi find the glasses. Lovi stands in front of the bookshelf, looking sleepy and dazed. When Nona reassures her don't worry, Lovi turns around with a surprised look. It seems she is hiding a truth about the glasses rather than simply having lost them. The truth is quickly exposed. On the table lie Lovi's glasses, but one lens has been shattered into pieces. The image of the broken glasses lying on a piece of cloth suggests an accident that Lovi tried to hide from her mother for fear of being scolded. Lovi confesses that she dropped them when she went out this morning. Nona sits on the floor, staring at the fragments and asks why Lovi lied about losing them. Lovi hesitates, looking apologetic and worried, not knowing how to explain. Lovi squats on the floor, trying to get Nona's attention. She whispers anxiously that if her mother finds out she broke the glasses, she will fly into a rage. Therefore, she needs to keep this secret at all costs, and Nona is her only hope right now. In desperation, Lovi kneels down, clasping her hands to beg Nona like a savior, calling her queen. Nona stands with her arms crossed, looking at her friend with surprise mixed with amusement, confirming that basically, Lovi wants her to use her special ability to fix it. Lovi continues to plead, promising to do whatever Nona wants. She explains that the repair cost at the shop is too expensive and would take days, which means she couldn't hide it from her mother. The urgency is clear on Lovi's tearful face. Nona sighs, asking if Lovi has collected all the pieces. After Lovi confirms, Nona reluctantly agrees and demands that Lovi treat her to a meal later. Nona turns her back, pulls the window curtains, and begins to cast magic. Lovi stands behind, cheering in joy and thanking her profusely. The atmosphere in the room becomes serious. Nona kneels on the floor, holding a small wand with a gemstone, pointing it at the broken glasses. She focuses intensely, chanting the spell, Altoare. Lovie watches from the side with suspense and anxiety, holding her breath waiting for the miracle. Under the influence of magic, invisible threads begin to work. They pull the broken glass pieces together, miraculously stitching up every crack. In just a moment, the glasses are restored to their original state. Nona smiles brightly, holding up the glasses and announcing, "It's done." Lovie puts the glasses on, smiling with satisfaction because they are perfect, as if they were never broken. She expresses admiration for Nona's ability to sew with magic needle and thread without leaving a trace. However, after the moment of joy, the mood drops when Nona asks Lovie about the rumors regarding the wizard in District 16. Lovie looks pensive, wondering why such useful magic is hunted so fiercely by the Bureau. Nona looks at her friend, asking a loaded question. "It's still just you who knows I'm a witch besides your mother, right?" It turns out Lovie has known Nona's secret for a long time. Lovie smiles gratefully, recalling that Nona has saved her many times since the old days. Nona, with a serious but warm expression, reaffirms her promise to always help if Lovie is in trouble. Their relationship is not just friendship, but accomplices keeping a shared secret for survival. Memories take them back to the past, in a dense forest. Someone's voice shouts anxiously, "I'll go get help. Lovie, it's too dangerous." The vast natural setting and warning words create a tense atmosphere of the day they first met. In the past, little Nona is standing under a tree, trying to reassure little Lovie who is lying prone on a large branch. Lovie, wearing glasses, is trying to reach for a wide-brimmed hat that is stuck, ignoring the danger. Nona is worried but bravely stands there cheering her friend on. Lovie fears that if she goes to get an adult, a bird will take her favorite hat away. Nona realizes the importance of the hat to her friend. Though afraid, Lovie is determined to get it herself, but the trembling and sweat on her forehead show she is terrified. Finally, Lovie reaches the hat. She smiles radiantly, showing a cute canine tooth and exclaims, "Got it!" She carefully places the straw hat on a sturdy branch, sighing in relief for saving her precious item. Looking down at Nona, Lovie expresses gratitude and praises Nona for being cool for not running away but staying to help her. Lovie's eyes widen with admiration, cheeks blushing, creating a moment of first connection between two lonely souls. But the trouble isn't over. The wind suddenly blows hard through the canopy. Lovie is lying relaxing on the branch after getting the hat when she suddenly slips. She utters a joke about not getting dusty, but the reality is becoming dangerous. A loud whoosh sound rings out. Nona gasps, "Oh!" as she sees Lovie's hand slip off the mossy branch. A close-up of Nona's wide, horrified eyes shows Lovie falling, and a serious accident is about to happen right before her eyes. The scene becomes chaotic. Lovie loses her balance, hands flailing in the air, face utterly panicked. Nona stands on the ground, hands clasped helplessly. The peaceful picnic has turned into a nightmare in a split second. In that moment, hanging by a thread, Lovie squeezes her eyes shut, waiting for the painful impact. She is extremely tense, sweating profusely, bracing herself for the worst. But the impact never comes. Lovie opens her eyes to find herself hanging upside down in midair. A strange thin thread is wrapped tightly around her leg, holding her just before she hits the ground. She is utterly amazed, not understanding what just happened. Turns out Nona used magic. The little girl is standing under the tree, holding a stick pointed straight at Lovie like a magic wand. However, Nona's face is not happy but full of horror and shock. She has just revealed her biggest secret in front of a stranger. The magic wears off, and Lovie falls to the ground with a thud. Although it hurts, she is safe. Nona stands paralyzed, hand covering her mouth, uttering, "Oh no," believing she has made an irreparable mistake and her life is essentially over. Nona panics and confesses, "I used my magic." Lovie, still dazed after the fall, turns to look at Nona with a shocked face and asks, "Nona, are you a witch?" Nona hesitates, terrified, wanting to deny it but cannot. Instead of fear or discrimination, Lovi's next question astounds Nona. Lovi asks with a serious yet curious face, "Is it true that to use magic, you need human blood?" Nona is so shocked she is speechless at this naivety. Lovi continues to bombard her with weird questions about demons and eating humans. Nona shifts from fear to confusion and constantly denies them. She realizes that Lovi isn't afraid of her because she's a witch, but just curious about the wild rumors people tell. After hearing Nona deny everything, Lovi seems disappointed. She sighs, "So all those things are just rumors?" Nona looks at her friend in surprise, unable to believe Lovi is disappointed that she isn't a man-eating monster. Lovi laughs out loud happily. "There's nothing scary about that at all." Lovi's radiant smile dispels all the fear in Nona's heart. That was the moment Nona realized she had found a true friend, someone who accepted her despite her different identity. Returning to the present, the two girls continue their conversation. Nona wonders why the Bureau considers witches a danger. Lovi also ponders, wondering why they blow things out of proportion, when her witch friend is so gentle and kind. Memories rush back to the moment Lovi promised to keep the secret. Lovi told Nona, "Don't worry, I won't report you, and I won't tell my family about you either." Nona at that time was so surprised she could only utter "huh," daring not to believe her ears. Nona recalls asking Lovi if she was reported, would she be taken to the place called Uvral. Lovi turned back, looked at Nona with determined eyes and said, "I don't want to see my friend go to a place like that." That was the affirmation of their lasting friendship. Lovi grins, telling Nona, "Anyway, you saved my life, Nona." Nona blushes, embarrassed by Lovi's frankness and sincere gratitude. To Lovi, Nona is not a danger, but a benefactor, a hero. In another scene from the past, Lovi gives Nona the straw hat as a thank you gift. When Nona politely declines, Lovi laughs and says, "Don't be so polite. We're best friends now." That sentence officially bound the lives of the two girls together. Nona smiles nostalgically. She remembers the feeling back then, the feeling of having a true friend for the first time in her life, someone who didn't look at her with fear or disgust. It was the warmest light in her secret-filled life. Nona teases Lovi about not knowing how to climb trees. Lovi retorts, asking what's scary about Nona anyway. Then Lovi confesses that actually, at that time, she was more afraid of heights than of Nona. Both laugh about the silly misunderstanding of the past, when fear was defeated by friendship. Nona speaks thoughtfully, "If only all humans were like you, Lovi." Lovi falls silent, understanding the weight of that sentence. It holds Nona's sadness about a world that doesn't accept her, and a fragile hope for understanding. The atmosphere drops because it's too serious. Lovi suddenly gets embarrassed, shouting that Nona shouldn't be so serious. Nona is surprised. Then both return to happy childish arguments, hiding the deep anxieties in their hearts. The door opens. Lovi's mother enters with a tray of snacks. She is happy to see the two girls laughing and realizes Lovi has found her glasses. She asks what they are talking about so happily, completely unaware of the earth-shattering secret the two children are sharing. The two girls look at each other with sly smiles. Lovi puts a finger to her lips, signaling silence, and says, "It's a secret." Their smiles are radiant, containing complicity and the joy of friendship, a rare, peaceful moment in a turbulent world. That evening, Nona comes home late. The long-haired guardian has prepared dinner and is waiting for her. The atmosphere in the house seems tense. Nona says she will go put her things away, trying to avoid the probing eyes of the woman, who seems to have noticed something unusual. The truth cannot be hidden. The woman asks Nona directly, "You didn't perform magic in front of Lovi again, did you?" Both Nona and a part of the memory of Lovi in her mind look panicked. Nona knows she has violated the supreme rule. Nona tries to justify that Lovi is safe because she has known and kept the secret for years. The woman is angry, blaming Nona for not heeding the warning. She fears that if anyone other than Lovi finds out, the consequences will be immeasurable for both. The argument reaches a climax. The woman warns that if Nona isn't careful, she will forbid her from seeing Lovi. Nona explodes, shouting, "I know it all!" expressing the frustration suppressed for so long while living in control and fear. The woman lowers her voice, reminding Nona about not trusting humans and the recent wizard arrest. Nona turns her back, trying to reassure that Lovi is different. She has kept the secret for 7 years. Nona clenches her fists, trying to protect her faith in her only best friend. Alone in her room, Nona bows her head in thought. She asks herself, then why? Why does she have to live like this? Why can't she have friends? That question drills deep into her heart, stirring up pain about the loneliness and injustice she has to bear. In a painful memory, Nona questions her father, who was once a human. She screams in tears, "You were the one who got with a human, so why am I not allowed to have even one friend?" The contradiction in the family is the source of her pain. Nona turns away, whispering in disappointment, "I thought you would understand me best, Mom." She feels betrayed by her loved ones, those who should have understood and protected her desire to connect. Back in the present, the long-haired woman hears Nona's footsteps. But Nona coldly says, "I'm going to sleep," and skips dinner. The woman calls after her with concern, realizing the distance between them is growing due to secrets and excessive protection. In the room, the woman picks up an old photo. It is a picture of her and a human man smiling happily. She whispers, "I do understand." She understands Nona's longing, because she herself once loved a human, and that very love led to the current tragedy. Under the moonlight, the woman looks at the photo with sad eyes. She truly understands, but the fear of losing Nona to the Bureau is greater than anything. She is trying to protect Nona in the only way she knows, even if it hurts Nona. Nona lies asleep on the bed, the room quiet but lonely. Light shines in, but cannot dispel the darkness in her heart. Is she dreaming of freedom or of nightmares of separation? In the dream, the rules of survival appear. Don't trust anyone, don't reveal yourself, don't use magic. Nona tells herself if she does that, she will be at peace. But right after, a cruel truth appears. The price of that peace is absolute loneliness until death. The next day, Nona walks on the street, not wanting to go home because of the awkward atmosphere with her mother. She decides to drop by Lovi's house, the only place she feels welcomed. She holds an item in her hand, hoping to find comfort from her best friend. But as she gets closer, Nona notices something unusual. Her eyes widen in surprise. A crowd is gathering in front, blocking the way. Intuition tells her something bad is happening. Nona squeezes through the crowd, asking people what is going on. She sees the worried and frightened faces of those around her. The tense atmosphere envelopes the street, quite different from the usual peace. Nona starts to feel panic. And then she sees a horrifying scene. In the middle of the street, Lovi and her parents are kneeling, tied up in front of a military officer. The crowd surrounds them watching. Nona stands frozen, realizing her worst nightmare has come true. The officer with a fierce face is interrogating Lovi. He asks her again if she knows any wizards. Lovi trembles, trying to deny, saying she doesn't know what he's talking about. Fear is evident on her sweat-drenched face. Lovi tries to explain that a resident saw her glasses broken yesterday, but this morning they were whole. She retells the story with confusion, trying to make it seem like a strange occurrence she herself doesn't understand, to divert suspicion from Nona. But the officer is not easily fooled. He suspects the fact that the glasses were restored overnight, while shops in town take 3 days. That miracle is proof of magic intervention. A young woman in the crowd speaks up, dropping an accusation. "Unless you used magic to do it." Lovi widens her eyes in horror. Those words are like a knife stabbing straight into her effort to hide. The situation becomes more critical than ever. Lovi tries to justify in desperation. "I used my tools to fix them. Absolutely no magic involved." But the sharp, cold gaze of the officer shows he doesn't believe a word. He is cornering her. The crowd clamors, demanding Lovi prove immediately how she fixed it. Lovi stands frozen, sweat pouring down. She cannot prove what she didn't do, and she definitely cannot reveal the truth. Her silence only increases the suspicion. The officer announces that a background check shows Lovi's family has a clean lineage, not wizards. This means Lovi didn't fix the glasses herself with magic. Lovi's mother kneels, sighing in relief, but this pushes Lovi into another danger, harboring a criminal. The officer concludes coldly, "It must have been a wizard who fixed the glasses for you." He stares at Lovi, waiting for a name. Lovi lowers her head, biting her lip tight. She knows that just one name uttered, and Nona will be arrested and taken to Uvral forever. Pressure weighs heavily on the little girl's shoulders. The officer orders, "I am asking you. Tell us their name." Lovi trembles, tears on the verge of falling. She is standing between her family's safety and her best friend's life. Lovi's father screams in desperation, "Why won't you say anything? Lovi!" The surrounding crowd begins to shout angrily, "You are a traitor! Speak up!" They view Lovi's silence as a betrayal of humanity, a cover-up for a monster. A man screams in Lovi's face, "There's no need to protect a wizard. Tell him their name." Lovi remains kneeling there, lonely and terrified to the extreme, but she is determined to keep her mouth shut. The 7-year friendship with Nona is the only thing keeping her from collapsing right now. The crowd starts speculating Lovi is brainwashed or threatened. Lovi's mother tries to beg the officer, saying her daughter is confused. But Lovi's silence makes the situation worse. Nona stands from afar, witnessing everything, her heart breaking. The situation becomes extremely tense when a gun is drawn. Someone asks to discuss in private, but violence seems unavoidable. The crowd's tolerance has run out. The officer points the gun at Lovi's parents. He asks a threatening question, "Is that so?" The crowd holds its breath. Lovi looks at the muzzle pointed at her loved ones, terror clear in her eyes. The officer delivers a cruel ultimatum. "Do you want your family to be killed by a wizard, or by me right here?" He forces Lovi to choose. Sell out her friend or watch her parents die. The cruelty of the Bureau is exposed nakedly. Lovi gasps, speechless. She looks at her parents kneeling, trembling under the gun. Despair envelopes her. She cannot let her parents die, but she also cannot be the one to push Nona to death. The raised gun makes her look quite panicked. Close-up of Lovi's face, tears and sweat mingling. She gasp, pupils constricting in shock. She has reached the limit of human endurance. Her world is collapsing right before her eyes. From within the crowd, Nona stands frozen, clutching the item in her hand. She sees Lovi's sacrifice, sees the brutality of humans. She knows she cannot hide anymore. The deciding moment has arrived. Will she continue to hide to be safe, or step into the light, using her cursed power to save her only friend, accepting to trade her entire life? The space sinks into tense silence. The two girls, Nona with braids and Lovi with glasses, are both stunned with expressions of extreme horror. Their eyes open wide, sweat pouring down their foreheads like a bath, reflecting the severe shock of the event that just took place. No one can speak a word. Only their vacant eyes tell of the fear enveloping them. In the brick courtyard, the atmosphere is thick with the smell of gunpowder and threats. A man in a dark coat points a gun at Lovi, while another threatens a kneeling woman, possibly Lovi's mother. He asks coldly, "You want to protect that wizard so much, to the point of letting your family die for them?" Another man stands nearby with a look of utter panic, not knowing what to do in this precarious situation. The surrounding crowd begins to get agitated. Faces distorted with anger and curiosity, mouths gaping, screaming, "Say it! Say it! Say it!" The pressure from the crowd is like fierce waves crashing onto Lovi, forcing her to give an answer she would rather die than utter. Fear is evident on every line of Nona and Lovi's faces. Nona with braids trembles, drenched in sweat, eyes full of despair. Lovi with glasses is no better, drops of sweat dripping onto the brick floor, drip, drip, mingling with the terrifying silence before the storm hits. A black gun muzzle points straight at Lovi from above, cold and heartless. The little girl sobs in fear, tears and sweat blurring behind her glasses. The shout, "What name?" rings out like thunder, cornering her, forcing her to choose between her life and her best friend's safety. Nona Ewan. It's the girl with braids over there. Nona's name rings out, tearing the silence apart. A soldier points straight at Nona, who is bowing her head behind Lovie. The secret is exposed. Nona shrinks back, while Lovie looks at her revealed friend with eyes of utter despair. Nona is stunned, eyes open to their widest, looking towards the person who just called her name. Horror is clear on her sweat-drenched face. Her world has just collapsed. All efforts to hide, all hopes for a peaceful life have vanished into smoke in an instant. Thud! Get her! A shout rings out, and immediately, a crowd rushes at Nona. She is knocked to the ground, rough hands grabbing her, pulling her hair, pulling her clothes. The sound, "It's her!" echoes everywhere, turning her into the target of collective anger and rage. Nona struggles in panic and despair. A soldier presses a gun to her head, asking coldly, "Are you a wizard?" Nona kneels, trembling, eyes pleading for help towards Lovie. Lovie stands there, tears streaming down, painfully calling her friend's name. Nona? Helpless, witnessing her best friend being treated like a dangerous criminal. Lovie wails. "But I was the only one who knew. Just me. For 7 years." She cannot believe that the secret she guarded so carefully for so many years was revealed in such a cruel way. The bearded officer shouts angrily, "Since when did you know?" pointing the spearhead at the surrounding crowd, those who might have known but stayed silent. The atmosphere becomes chaotic. Lovie, in extreme despair, grabs the gun. "My parents have nothing to do with this." Then, the sound of gunshots, bang bang, rings out ear-splittingly. In front of her, a man falls, blood splashing. Lovie stands there, stunned, tears flowing down a face distorted by pain and regret. She has just done something irreversible. "Mom, Dad!" Lovie's heart-rending scream rings out as she sees her parents lying motionless in a pool of blood. She kneels beside their bodies, wailing in utter pain. Her face deforms due to the massive loss. The cruel truth hits her, making it unbearable. The officer still coldly points the gun forward, unmoved by the tragedy that just occurred. Lovie screams, Dad!" in hopelessness, the desperate call of a child losing everything in a blink of an eye due to the brutality of those in power. A loud thud strikes down. Nona is grabbed by the hair by a rough hand and her head is slammed hard against the ground. She lies prone, in pain and terrified, sweating profusely. The world spins before her eyes, and the violence seems to have no end. Lovie and her parents were humans. "Why did you shoot them?" Nona screams, questioning the soldiers with extreme outrage. She cannot understand why innocent people have to die. The crowd around stands silent, stunned by this brutality. 3 men kneel, tied up, waiting for their cruel fate, like a chilling warning. The officer replies coldly, "Collective responsibility. Anyone who hides a wizard and parents who raised them like that is a big problem." He pronounces a death sentence for Lovie's entire family just because they covered for Nona. Nona listens to those words frozen, horrified to realize her very existence brought disaster to those she loves. "Take her away." The order is given. Nona is escorted away by 2 soldiers, head bowed low, hands tied. The crowd watches her with fearful and pitying eyes. In the distance, the injured lie scattered, proof of a bloody crackdown that just took place. In a dark alley, Nona is led away, looking back one last time with a horrified face. The soldier reads the sentence. "According to Article 43, you will never return to this town. You will be sent to the Uvral facility." The name Uvral sounds like a death sentence, a place of eternal imprisonment for people like her. 3 bodies lying on the ground are a stern warning to anyone who dares to resist. A dark cloud covers Nona's mind. Her face blurs with tears and panic. She remembers happy memories, smiles. Now all that remains is pain and late regret. Lovie's image appears in Nona's memory, radiant with a bright smile and sparkling eyes behind round glasses. That was Lovey of Peaceful Days, the closest friend, the one who was always there and protected her. Returning to cruel reality, Nona bites her lip tight, suppressing a painful cry. Sweat and tears mix on her dirty face. She is bracing herself to endure immense physical and mental pain, the helplessness of not being able to save her friend. Suddenly, a change occurs. The soldiers start to notice something unusual. The whiz of a whip rings out, but not to beat. Nona, with eyes burning with anger, screams, "Altoare, stop!" She is struggling, using her last bit of strength to fight back, ignoring the danger. The soldiers stare down at their feet in stun. Their boots have been sewn tight to the wooden floor by rough but strong threads. What? Did she sew our shoe soles to the ground? Surprise and confusion envelop them. Nona's magic has taken effect in an unexpected way. Taking advantage of the chaos, Nona snatches a gun from a soldier's hand. She points the gun forward with a determined face, forcing those around to step back in surprise. A thin thread wraps tightly around the trigger, disabling the opponent's weapon in an instant. Nona is no longer the weak girl resigning to fate. She is fighting. The officer looks down at his feet, then looks up at Nona with a solemn face mixed with sarcasm. That is certainly useful magic, but nothing impressive. So you can sew things together. Are you planning to resist? He isn't scared at all, but seems to be challenging her. He sneers. You are the one at a disadvantage. I bet you don't even know how to use that gun. Nona kneels on the floor, hand trembling holding the gun, face terrified. Bang! A loud explosion rings out. Nona is shot in the shoulder, falling backwards. The gun falls from her hand. Her weak resistance has been ruthlessly crushed. The officer steps forward, looking down at the confined Nona with contempt. You reap what you sow. Give up. Nona clutches her wound, looking at him with desperate eyes. What can someone like you do? That sentence is like an affirmation of her helplessness against their overwhelming power. The crowd starts booing again, throwing objects at Nona. Get out! Filthy witch! Nona lies there, enduring the rain of bricks and stones and hatred. Close-up of her wide, tear-filled eyes, containing extreme suffering as she is rejected and driven away by the very people she lived among. Another small white-haired girl is also roughly arrested. Two masked soldiers grab the girl tight, slamming her onto the brick floor. The girl cries out in pain, tears streaming. This scene shows the crackdown targets not just Nona but spreads to other innocents. In Nona's mind, her guardian's warning echoes, "Don't use your magic outside." Nona's tear-soaked face shows belated regret. If she had listened, perhaps this tragedy wouldn't have happened. That reminder now becomes a tormenting obsession. Nona kneels on the cold brick floor, bowing her head in apology. I'm sorry, Mom. Two soldiers stand beside her, one placing a hand on her shoulder comforting, the other holding her hand. The crowd behind watches with complex expressions. Nona's apology rings out in the quiet space, full of sorrow and regret. The citizens start discussing. These people were right, all of them, then they would never have shot Lovey. They realized that stubbornness and fear led to Lovey's unjust death. Beside her friend's body, Nona whispers in tears, I should have listened. If only she hadn't used magic, if only she was more careful. But everything is too late. Nona stands amidst the wreckage of the iron gate, where two soldiers were pierced by sharp shards. She sobs, my fault. The destruction around, the painful deaths, all weigh heavily on the little girl's shoulders, turning into an indelible burden of guilt. Nona's face is smeared with blood and mud, eyes wide with horror staring into the void. Black ink splatters around like a reflection of her shattering soul. The chaos and violence have carved a deep, unhealable wound into that tender mind. Suddenly, a hand holding an exquisitely decorated comb raises up. The comb glows strangely. The officer sees it, startled. What is that? Fragments start floating around him, signaling a new power rising. Nona stares straight ahead, face both terrified and amazed. She doesn't understand what is happening, but she feels a terrifying energy exploding, a power far beyond the understanding of her and those around. A mysterious long-haired woman appears in the middle of the street, majestic and powerful. Giant auras radiate from her, knocking everyone around away. She stands there, steady as a mountain, face solemn and determined. Her appearance completely changes the situation, making everyone terrified. Close-up of the woman's face. Brows furrowed tight, sweat beading on her forehead, eyes burning with anger. She whispers, "Mom!" Perhaps she is fighting for her mother, or her appearance is closely related to the woman who warned Nona. The long-haired woman swings the comb up, chanting, "Kazuroa!" Combing magic. A star-shaped beam of energy shoots out from the comb. The soldiers scream in horror. "Another wizard! Shoot her!" They hurriedly raise their guns, but fear is clearly visible on their faces. A devastating attack strikes down. Sharp blades like giant fans rush down from above, piercing through the soldiers. Blood and debris fly everywhere. Screams of pain ring out all over. The destructive power of the mysterious woman makes anyone witnessing it terrified to their core. Nona is knocked back by the strong wind, hair messy. She gawks at the scene before her, exclaiming, "What is this power?" She has never seen magic so strong and terrifying. It just saved her, but simultaneously spreads horror. The long-haired woman continues to attack. She swings her hand, tossing an officer into the air, destroying surrounding buildings as if they were made of paper. Magic bullets fly swiftly, embedding into everything in their path. The whole city shakes under her furious power. Darkness and negative energy spread, swallowing the soldiers. Sharp, teardrop-shaped objects fly like a shower. The woman with pointed ears, perhaps an elf or demi-human, looks up with a resolute face. The panicked crowd flees as the ground beneath them crumbles. Nona stands amidst the thick dust, face dirty but eyes lighting up with a new realization. Magic! This is the first time I've used serious magic, Mom. She realizes that this power, though terrifying, is also the only thing that can protect her and those she loves in this cruel world. Looking at the ruined, desolate city before her eyes, Nona wonders in shock. Could do something like this? The woman's power, and perhaps the potential within her, is something far beyond imagination, able to destroy or save everything. Nona, come here. The blonde woman riding a broom flies over, shouting for Nona, who is sitting on the ground. Nona hurriedly stands up, running after the woman. Both rush away amidst the rain of bullets and fierce pursuit of the soldiers. They're running. Chase them. The escape begins. Get on. The blonde woman orders decisively. Nona climbs onto the broom, holding tight to the woman. Her hand gripping the broom handle shows determination to escape this hellish place. They fly high up, leaving chaos and death behind. Looking down from above, the city is submerged in a sea of fire and smoke. Buildings collapse, people run in panic. Nona hugs the woman tight, looking down at that horrific scene with fear, but also relief for having escaped. Those remaining on the ground look up at the sky, stunned. They are flying. The appearance and disappearance of the two witches leave fear and awe in their hearts at the supernatural power they just witnessed. In the sky, Nona buries her face in the woman's back, sobbing. She has lost her best friend, lost her home, lost her peaceful life. Below, another short-haired girl stands watching, face dirty, sad eyes directed towards the burning city, where painful memories are buried. Close-up of Nona's face soaked in tears and dirt. The pain of loss is so great it exhausts her. She leans her head against the woman, seeking comfort and protection in her weakest moment. "I'm sorry," the blonde woman whispers. Nona sobs, "I'm so sorry, Mom." Mother and daughter hug in tears. The late apology contains love and forgiveness for each other after all the incidents. "You were right about everything," Nona admits. She has understood the danger of the outside world, the cruelty of humans towards those who are different. Her mother was right to try to protect her, but the price paid for this lesson is too high. Nona wipes her tears, lifting her head. Her eyes gradually become more steadfast. She looks ahead, where the vast sky opens up. Pain is still there, but now, beside it is determination. She will live, will be stronger, so she never has to regret like today again. The mother begins to recount the past. You know, I told you your father died before you were born, right? She tells of the days they lived in another town, about the kind human father who loved and protected both mother and daughter. He kept the secret that I was a wizard, and always saved me when I was in trouble. The mother recalls with a sad smile. Your father was a very kind person. But then her voice drops. But when we got married, I thought we would live in peace forever. That fleeting happiness was broken by prejudice and pursuit. The curtain just moved for a moment. And in that moment, someone saw me. Just a small mistake, a curious glance seeing her holding a wand, and their peaceful life collapsed completely. That day changed everything. The mother continues, voice choked. Your father used himself as a decoy so I could escape, and the Magic Supervision Bureau killed him. Nona listens shocked, tears welling up again. Her father sacrificed his life to protect her and her mother. So I ran with all my might. The mother recalls the heartbreaking scene of leaving her beloved husband to flee. Keep our child safe. That was his last wish, the motivation for her to live on and protect Nona until now. Nona sobs. I'm sorry, I could never tell you. She regrets not being able to share this secret with Lovi sooner, not being able to tell her friend about the burden she was carrying. The mother continues flying in the sky, telling Nona, you may be the child of a wizard, but also the child of a human. I don't want you to hate all humans. I want you to have the freedom to choose, if you ever want to live like a human. She has always hoped Nona could live a normal life, not bound by hatred or fear. Anyway, that is the only thing your father could leave for you. Freedom of choice, love for humans. That is the most precious legacy the father left for Nona. Not wizard blood or powerful magic. The wind blows hard, Nona's hair flapping. She ponders her mother's words. Her father's sacrifice, her mother's love, and Lovi's death. All blend together, creating an invisible force urging her forward. Suddenly, Nona senses a strange energy. She looks down at the forest below. A woman with braids is floating in midair, emitting a mysterious glow. Nona! Someone calls her name. Nona looks down in surprise, wondering what awaits her. Mother and daughter land on a deserted road. In the next town we live in, let's make everything nice, and absolutely never let anyone know we are witches. The familiar instruction rings out again, but this time Nona replies with a different mindset. That's right. She clearly understands the price of carelessness. Nona looks towards the distant mountains, where the sun is shining brightly. I will never make that mistake again. She silently promises herself. She will live, will protect the secret, and will cherish her father's sacrifice and Lovi's friendship. Suddenly, a giant magic symbol appears in the sky, blocking their path. 3 interlaced circles glow brightly. The mother panics, hugging Nona tight. A new danger has appeared. The giant magic matrix hovers in mid-air, radiating overwhelming power. Nona stands looking up, feeling so small before this authority. This is not normal magic, but something ancient and much stronger. Nona and her mother look at each other, both clearly showing surprise and worry. They just escaped one disaster. Now they face another challenge. Can they overcome it? A magic circle here? The mother exclaims. From within that circle, a giant gun barrel slowly rises. Slide. Zoom. The sound of mechanics rings out menacingly. It is a combination of technology and magic, a terrifying weapon of destruction. A series of gun barrels point straight at the mother and daughter. The mother hurriedly steers the broom to dodge. Click! Cha! The sound of loading bullets rings out dryly. The pursuit isn't over yet. The enemy seems to have prepared a deadly trap in the sky. Nona! Grab this! The mother shouts, throwing a rope towards Nona. Nona looks in panic at the gun barrels pointing at her. Gun barrels? She hurriedly grabs the rope, bracing for impact. The mother pulls the rope hard, dragging Nona flying away, dodging the first volley. Nona is dragged through the air, utterly terrified. She sees her mother with determined but also painful eyes, trying her best to protect her from the rain of bullets. Close-up of Nona's face soaked in tears and fear. The little girl is in a precarious situation. Everything happens too fast, too dangerously. She only knows to hold tight to the lifeline her mother gave. Boom, boom, boom. Consecutive explosions occur around them. Nona is thrown off the broom, free-falling downwards. M.O.M. She screams in despair, watching her mother's silhouette getting farther away in the smoke-filled sky. Nona falls into a deep abyss, surrounded by jagged cliffs and encompassing darkness. Her braided hair glows, like a tiny light amidst the endless night. Where is she falling to? What fate awaits her at the bottom of this abyss? Splash! Nona falls plop into the rushing water. Water splashes high. The freezing current sweeps her away, drowning her in darkness. On the shore, a man looks through binoculars, smirking. Exact. He observed everything, and it seems Nona's fall was within his calculations. He turns to report to his superior. With this magic, we can even shoot down enemies from afar. For a prototype, it works very well. Turns out, the attack just now was a new weapon test by the Bureau, and Nona and her mother became unwilling test subjects. The commanding officer looks down at the ruined area, satisfied with the destructive power. He orders coldly, "Collect the wizards just shot down." The soldiers obey, beginning to search for victims of this cruel experiment. A young researcher explains the danger of the magic circle. Every experiment using living creatures so far turned them into a lump of meat, but humans cannot pass through. This suggests Nona might have encountered life-threatening danger when falling through the Matrix's area of influence. He continues, but very few people can use them properly. The use of magic tools still has many limitations, and the Bureau is frantically searching for suitable subjects to perfect their weapons. A young man with a scar on his face looks into the distance, whispering, "For the time being." He seems to have his own calculations, not fully agreeing with what is happening. A mysterious character in a black cloak stands looking at the ruined city, declaring, "One day, all magic will fall into the Bureau's hands." This organization's ambition to control all magic power is becoming clearer and more terrifying than ever. Under deep water, bubbling sounds gobo, glub, ring out. Nona is sinking, consciousness fading. She is at the border between life and death. The current washes away Nona's motionless body. The roar of the waterfall echoes in her ears. Her braided hair floats aimlessly like moss. Is this the end for the young girl? In the delirium, warm memories return. Nona remembers happy days with her mother, happy meals, the gift of a cute little teddy bear. Her mother's love is the fire warming her soul in the coldest moments. Nona sinks deeper into sleep. Her face is serene, a slight smile on her lips. She is dreaming of a peaceful place, where there is no pursuit, no guns, only love and freedom. Light penetrates the dense canopy, shining down on the water surface. The scenery is strangely peaceful, contrasting completely with the chaos and death that just took place. Nature remains silent, witnessing all human tragedies. A mysterious black-haired girl appears in the forest. She looks melancholy, carrying a deep hidden sadness. She is holding a bundle of cloth, walking alone in the wilderness. Who is she, and how is she related to Nona's fate? The black-haired girl discovers Nona lying unconscious by the stream. Nona lies face down on the gravel, clothes soaked. The black-haired girl stands looking, surprised and worried. Fate has arranged this meeting. Nona lies there, peaceful as if fast asleep. Waves lap gently against her. The black-haired girl approaches, observing the stranger drifted from who knows where. Nona's life now depends on this stranger. Close-up of Nona's face waking up, eyes wide with amazement. Peaceful days were torn apart. What will this new encounter bring for Nona? Her story hasn't ended here. A new chapter full of mystery and challenges begins to open before the resilient young girl. One morning, Nona wakes up to an urgent call. Her mother is standing at the door, looking surprised and worried, urging her to get up quickly or she'll be late. The rushed but familiar scene of a morning in a normal family. Nona's mother smiles gently, announcing breakfast is ready. You don't mind sandwiches, right? This friendly question suggests the presence of another person in the house, possibly Nona's friend or a guest. Nona's mother stands at the bedroom door, a smile always on her lips. She reminds Nona to put her pajamas in the laundry basket and announces she will wash them later. An image of a caring mother, looking after the family bit by bit, creating a warm and peaceful atmosphere. Suddenly, the scene shifts. A pair of eyes open wide, tired and empty, staring into the void. It is the gaze of someone who just went through a long dream or a huge shock, trying to regain composure amidst vague reality. Nona startles awake on the bed, sweating profusely. She looks around the strange, empty room in confusion. Did she just lie unconscious here? What happened to me? She asks herself, trying to recall the last memories. Oh, Mom? She whispers, fear starting to creep in realizing the absence of her beloved mother. Nona stands up, turning her back to the bed. Before her eyes is a thick, cold iron bar door. She is in a cell. The harsh truth hits. She has been arrested and imprisoned in some dark and lonely place. Nona grabs the bars in horror, screaming clang. Impossible! She cannot believe her eyes. Memories rush back. She fell into the river, and after that, everything sank into darkness. Now she wakes up in this nightmare. From the next cell, a voice rings out, Excuse me, you over there. Nona startles, turning around. A black-haired girl, disheveled, is looking at her through the bars with curious and somewhat worried eyes. Nona panics. I just woke up and... The black-haired girl interrupts, asking urgently, Can you tell me where I am? Turns out the other girl also just woke up and is as confused as Nona. Both are unwilling prisoners, thrown into this place without understanding why. Nona clings to the bars, asking desperately, Did you see my mother? She has hair color like mine, but a bit taller. She hopes to find a clue about the mother who fell into the abyss with her. The black-haired girl shakes her head indifferently. Don't know. Nona is shocked to realize. No one is locked up here except you and me. This truth increases loneliness and fear manifold. Only 2 children detained in a vast, empty prison. A cold voice echoes in the hallway. You will probably never see your mother again. Nona and the black-haired girl are stunned. Those cruel words are like a knife stabbing Nona's heart, extinguishing the fragile ray of hope just kindled. The black-haired girl suddenly realizes something. Her face becomes serious. This is... She hesitates, then continues with a horrified look. Is Base 30 of the Magic Supervision Bureau. This name is synonymous with hell on earth for people like them. An authoritative voice declares, You have been arrested by the Bureau, Wizard, Nona Yuan. Nona freezes. Her identity has been exposed. She is in the enemy's lair, where the fate of wizards like her usually ends in tragedy. Nona opens her eyes wide in horror, sweating. She is shocked not only because of being arrested, but also because they know her name clearly. Who revealed it? And why do they know she is a wizard? Nona asks urgently in panic. How do you know my name? Are you human? Or another wizard? The black-haired girl, who just revealed the location, replies, You? Drifted down a river near the base. Turns out this girl witnessed or heard about Nona being fished up. The black-haired girl leans her head against the wall, sighing sadly. If I were human, I wouldn't be locked up by the Bureau like this. Her lament reveals a shared plight. She is also a wizard, or at least considered one, and suffers the same cruel fate as Nona. Nona ponders, sweat rolling down her forehead. That's right. She whispers, admitting the painful truth. In this world, just carrying wizard blood whether doing anything or not, is enough to be convicted. A click sound rings out dryly. A door in the middle of the hallway opens. A man steps out, black shadow stretching on the cold floor. His appearance signals bad things are about to happen. Nona startles, turning back, eyes wide with vigilance. "Are you awake yet, Nona Ewan?" The man's voice rings out, cold and threatening. He knows she is awake, and now is the time to begin interrogation or torture. A blonde soldier looks into the cell, sneering. "Stay in there like a good girl," he threatens. "I will send a detailed letter about your arrest to Central Headquarters. They will have a fitting sentence for you." The threat of a sentence from headquarters makes Nona shudder. Nona cannot suppress her anger and worry, screaming, "Where is my mother? What happened to her?" The soldier replies indifferently, "Who knows? You should worry about yourself." His cruel indifference fuels the fire of despair in Nona's heart. Nona wails in tears. "She is my only family. Please, all I want to know is where she is." Her heartbreaking cry echoes in the prison, but seems not to move the steely hearts of the jailers one bit. Suddenly, a black gun muzzle points straight at Nona's head through the bars. She freezes, silencing her cries. The direct threat to life makes her realize she is completely at a disadvantage. "Don't forget we are the ones letting you live," the soldier growls. "Shut up," he orders, eyes sharp as knives. Nona bites her lip tight, swallowing tears. She understands her life is now in their hands. But Nona does not resign. In a moment of despair, she rises up. "Altoare," she screams, activating magic. A beam of energy from the magic needle shoots out, knocking the gun from the soldier's hand, creating blinding, BZZT electric sparks. She is fighting to protect herself. The soldier is unflinching. He laughs faintly. "This cell is a bit special. The bars and walls are coated with a material to resist magic. There is absolutely nothing you can do." He is confident in the solidity of this prison. However, Nona discovers a loophole. "It doesn't look like it extends to your gun." She sneers sarcastically. Close-up of the gun shows a strange stone attached to the barrel by a wire. "A stone attached to the gun?" The soldier looks at her with reappraising eyes. "Quite rebellious for a wizard, huh?" Nona says indignantly. "The Bureau treats fellow humans as if they are wizards. Being human didn't save Lovie when she told them about me. Or her parents, who didn't even know anything." She denounces the brutality and injustice of the Bureau, those ready to sacrifice even their own kind to achieve goals. She screams bitterly. The only ones they protect are the little humans obediently following their orders, right? Nona's question exposes the nature of the ruling regime. Protection is only for the submissive, while anyone different or opposing is eliminated. The young soldier looks angrily at his broken gun. "Oh God, you broke my gun." He turns to Nona, growling, "Scream all you like in there. No one is coming to save you anyway." His contempt and anger show Nona has angered them. Suddenly, a click sound rings out. Another soldier appears in front of the black-haired girl's cell. "Time to go. Mira, Mira." He calls the girl's name. Nona looks over, surprised and worried. Where do they plan to take Mira? "Go," the soldier orders coldly. Mira, the black-haired girl, bows her head answering, "Yes, sir." She steps out of the cell, looking resigned and tired. She is led down the long dark hallway, leaving Nona alone with many unanswered questions. Before being led out of sight, Mira turns back to look at the young soldier with defiant eyes. "I bet they will have a beautiful public execution for you." The soldier goes mad. "Nona Ewan, I will report every word you just said right now to headquarters. Then let's see how they punish you later." The tense war of words signals difficult days ahead for Nona. Nona is left alone in the cell. The clang of the iron door closing rings out coldly. She clutches the bars, looking after Mira's silhouette fading. In another cell further away, another girl is also watching, creating an invisible link between suffering prisoners. Nona slumps down, hand clutching the wooden table leg. "Mom!" She whispers in the dark, longing and worry surging again. Loneliness and fear surround her in the cold, dark night of the prison. Night falls. Nona lies curled on the bed, eyes directed at the barred window. The starry sky twinkling outside is like a distant free world she cannot touch. Suddenly, a rattle sound shaking the iron door wakes her. Nona startles, opening her eyes. A clang rings out. She's back? Nona gasps. Has Mira returned? Or is it someone else? Outside the hallway, the young soldier stands there, face pained and tormented. He punches the wall hard. Then the door at the end of the hallway slams, bang. Seems he is under pressure or guilty conscience about something. Mira has returned to the next cell. Nona hurriedly runs to the bars. Where did you go? Hey, She hesitates, not knowing where to start. Mira's return brings her some comfort but is also full of suspicion. Nona asks urgently, Your name is Mira, right? I was sure they sent you to Uvral. She is surprised Mira is still here. Uvral is a place easy to go but hard to return from. Why was Mira brought back? Mira sits in the cell, face depressed. Huh? Why? Being transferred to Uvral is not in my plan right now. I've been here for 3 months. Turns out Mira has been detained here longer than Nona thought, and being transferred to Uvral is a constant threat hanging over their heads. Mira unexpectedly reveals, I work here. This sentence stuns Nona. A prisoner working here? What does this mean? Nona cannot believe her ears. You are a wizard? Working? And they didn't send you to Uvral? Mira lies on the bed, asking back, Hey Mira, can you tell me what is happening outside? She seems completely cut off from the outside world. Nona comes up with an intention. She timidly suggests, Is it possible for me to work with you? If working can help her avoid being sent to Uvral and have a chance to find information, she is ready to try. Mira looks at her with thoughtful, evaluating eyes. Are you planning to escape? Mira asks directly. Nona's heart skips a beat, thump. Mira's gaze is sharp as if seeing through Nona's heart. Nona sweats, unable to answer yet. Mira points to the metal ring on her leg. You see this thing on my leg? I don't know how it works, but it tracks my every move. You can't. You won't be able to escape. Mira's warning extinguishes Nona's immature intention to escape. Nona still tries to salvage. I can figure out a way, but as long as I can go outside. Mira interrupts. It is made of hard material, so it cannot be broken. If you want to work, they will also make you wear one. The price of freedom to move in this prison is absolute surveillance. Mira screams, I tell you it's impossible. But Nona still persists in persuading, If we work together, then I'm sure. Nona believes 2 people are better than 1, and together they can find a loophole. Mira looks down sadly. Why do you want to leave so much? This question touches Nona's pain. She remembers her mother, the promise, freedom. Mira looks at Nona in surprise, who is teary-eyed but determined. Mira warns further. You will still spend the rest of your life being hunted. Even if you escape, nothing will change. The outside world for wizards is no different from a larger prison. Nona clutches the bars, turning her back. Without finding out what happened to my mother, I can't just let myself be executed. She would rather die on the road searching for truth than die slowly in prison without knowing if her mother is alive or dead. Nona turns back, eyes burning with determination. So, if there is even the smallest chance to escape, she will seize it regardless of risks. The will to survive and love for her mother are her strongest motivations right now. Mira looks at Nona for a long time, then makes a decision. Take it, she says, eyes serious. She is handing Nona something, maybe a key, a map, or a chance. I used to think like you, Mira confesses, voice dropping. She looks far away, tired eyes containing a painful past. Perhaps Mira also once had hope, once had the will to resist, but cruel reality has worn it all away. Mira reveals a heartbreaking secret. I have an older brother. The cell you are in used to be his. Nona is stunned. This cold room used to hold Mira's relative. And where is he now? Mira bows her head, voice choked with apology. But, because of me, he was sent to Uvral. Family tragedy is revealed. Mira's guilt is the reason she has become indifferent and hopeless as she is now. Memories rush back to Mira. She remembers the old days, when her brother tried to comfort her. It's okay. Roy invited you to his birthday party, right? But little Mira that day hesitated. Am I not going, Mira? She was afraid of being discovered, afraid of harming her brother. Little Mira back then thought, if I am discovered, then you and brother will also be exposed. I don't want to cause trouble for everyone. If I don't make friends, then I won't ever have to worry about being discovered. She isolated herself to protect her relatives, a silent and painful sacrifice. Easier to be alone, Mira told her brother. The young man was confused, not knowing how to break the wall his sister built herself. Mira chose loneliness in exchange for false safety. But the brother didn't give up. We are going to Roy's birthday party, the boy announced excitedly, breaking Mira's gloom. He wanted to pull his sister into the light, wanted her to live a normal life like other children. Bye, Dad. I don't. Mira panicked, refusing, but the brother grabbed her hand, pulling her along. Come on, Mira. We'll be late. The boy used his enthusiasm to pull his sister into the light. My brother was not like me, Mira recalls. In memories, the brother always laughed loudly, carrying her on his back, full of life and joy. He was the sun, and she was the silent shadow behind. Roy's birthday party was filled with laughter and joy. Mira was surprised and overwhelmed by that atmosphere. For the first time, she felt the warmth of friendship, of connection between people. I was jealous of how he lived, Mira confesses. She was jealous of the freedom, bravery, and ability to love of her brother, things she always suppressed due to fear. But tragedy struck. The brother contracted a terminal illness. There is no treatment. They say it is incurable. The funeral took place in a deserted church, only the three of them. Loneliness enveloped Mira again. So many people came for Dad, but her father's funeral was different, crowded with people offering condolences. Mira watched two children sitting on a bench, realizing the difference between the death of a normal person and a hidden wizard. Her brother once told her, but connecting with others isn't so bad, right? Although Mira always thought, maybe being alone is easier. Deep in her heart, she still craved that connection. I don't care how many people attend my funeral. I just don't think holding back everything I want makes life meaningful. The brother's liberal and brave life perspective strongly impacted Mira. I want to follow the call of my heart, go to places I want, eat foods I like, and be with people I love. That was the simple but great dream of the brother, a wizard daring to live true to himself. You should only do what you want to do. Otherwise, what is the meaning of being born? The brother's question still echoes in Mira's mind, a reminder of the value of life and freedom. The way he thinks, huh? Oh, that is. Mira pondered her brother's life philosophy. She began to understand that the safety she tried to keep was actually just a prison created by herself. I want to become like that, Mira secretly wished. But then cruel reality hit. The door was smashed open, bang. 3 soldiers rushed in, breaking the peaceful dinner of the 2 siblings. The short piece ended. You two are wizards, right? We are from the Magic Supervision Bureau. The cold accusation rang out. Their secret was exposed. Where is your proof? Did someone report us? Mira panicked, asking. But the soldier replied implicitly, not this time. They didn't need anyone to report. They had another way to find them. We are here because of your father's death from illness. The real reason was revealed. The father's death was the clue leading the Bureau to the 2 siblings. That disease is only seen in Uvral facilities. It is a disease affecting only wizards. Therefore, all family members of the affected person are considered wizards. The truth about the father's disease exposed the identity of the whole family. You will come with us. Mira was arrested, dragging her brother into the vortex of tragedy. In the prison van, the soldier warned, "Restrain yourselves. If you use magic to resist, you will be neutralized immediately." The two siblings were taken away, beginning hellish days at the Bureau's bases. In prison, the brother was shackled but still tried to comfort Mira, who was shrinking in fear. "Don't worry. I'm here with you." Even in the most desperate situation, he was a solid support for his sister. Mira recounts the truth about the disease. The Bureau exploited the disease, only infecting wizards to trap them. But ironically, later they found out humans can also catch this disease. A disastrous confusion ruined so many lives. From today, you two will work here at Base 30. They weren't sent to Uvral immediately but kept for hard labor. Wear these on your ankles. The tracking bracelet was attached to their legs, marking the complete loss of freedom. Well, I guess that is still better than having to go to Uvral. The brother tried to be optimistic, but the soldier quashed it immediately. Don't even think about escaping. Through that, we know where you are at all times. Basically, we have them working like slaves, right? A soldier uttered while playing cards. They considered prisoners as tools, cards for entertainment and exploitation. Soldiers discussed keeping secrets. Just keep your mouths shut. Besides, only the four of us are at this base. They were carrying out shady, illegal acts right in the base, exploiting the lack of supervision from superiors. Mira overheard the story. And no one cares what you do with witches. She realized the bitter truth. A witch's life is as cheap as trash in the eyes of the Bureau and society. One day, Mira entered the wrong room to clean. The messy room was full of items. This room is the room they wanted me to clean? She asked herself. And then she saw it. Hanging on the wall was a key rack. That is. Mira was stunned. It was the guards' bunch of keys, capable of opening every door, including their leg irons. Mira, why are you in this room?" The guard burst in, discovering Mira standing in front of the key rack. Mira startled in terror. "Useless girl." Smack! He slapped her hard on the face. "I told you to clean the next room." Mira fell down, in pain, but a bold plan had sprouted in her head. That night, under the moonlight, Mira told her brother, "Are you sure I should trust that?" "Yes." She lied to her brother about the injury on her face to hide her plan. The brother excitedly announced, "More importantly, I have good news. We can escape." Mira surprised, "Huh?" Turns out the brother was also nurturing an escape plan. Mira showed the bunch of keys she stole. "One of them must be the key to our shackles. Today I went into the wrong room and found a bunch of keys." She had quickly stolen one when being beaten. Hope for freedom burned. The brother looked at her with determined eyes. "I'll steal them." He also planned to steal keys, but Mira was one step ahead. The brother revealed more, and secretly copied it down. "I saw their duty schedule, and I have a plan to avoid guards. It will be hard for them to detect at night." The two siblings, with key and schedule map, were ready for the escape. "We are witches. We can't return to our old life anymore." The brother screamed in despair mixed with determination. "What are you thinking? What if they find out? They could kill us if they know." Fear was still there, but the desire to live was stronger. Mira looked out the moonlit window. "Remember what you told me at Dad's funeral? Brother." She repeated the promise, the encouragement of her brother to fuel strength for both. "You said you wanted to listen to your heart." Mira looked straight into her brother's eyes. That sentence now isn't just a life philosophy, but a guideline for their life and death action. Never forgot those words, not even for a second. As long as it can succeed, I think it's worth trying." Mira affirmed. She had grown up, became braver thanks to her brother's love and guidance. The brother looked at her, surprised and moved. "I'm surprised." Mira smiled. The brother in prison asked, "Is that wrong?" "No, the desire for freedom is never wrong. You have really grown up." The brother smiled gently, proud of his sister. Mira looked at him teary-eyed. "Thank you." Mira closed her eyes, smiling contently. Regardless of the escape result, she was grateful for having her brother, for daring to live and hope. Their story, though tragic, still sparkled with the light of affection and bravery. Dark night, pouring rain. The angry storm howled outside, as if signaling bad things approaching. A voice rang out, cold and threatening. "You can't justify getting out of this." That voice drowned out the rain, drilling deep into the minds of those cornered. In the gloomy cell, a guard held up a crumpled piece of paper high. "We found this note about night shifts when we conducted a surprise cell check," he roared. "There is only one reason you have this." His eyes stared at Mira and her brother. "You too are planning to escape, right?" Mira was stunned, face pale with horror. Their perfect plan was discovered. "Wait! No!" Mira screamed in despair as she was dragged away. Her brother was also grabbed tight by another soldier. "I have the perfect punishment for you." The threat rang out like a death sentence. Both were dragged along the hallway, panicked eyes looking at each other one last time before being separated. In the cell, Mira's brother tried to justify, "My sister doesn't know what it is." He wanted to take all the blame to protect his sister. But suddenly Mira spoke up. "It's me. That is my note." The girl looked at her brother with wide eyes, determined not to let him take the punishment alone. Mira's brother smiled bitterly, looking straight at the guard. "I am the one who planned the escape." His confident and arrogant declaration made Mira dead silent. She didn't understand why he did that, why he deliberately took the blame for her again. "What are you saying?" Mira asked, bewildered. Her brother turned back, eyes strangely calm. "I'm sick of everything here, so I came up with the idea to escape by myself." He shrugged. "No need to pretend anymore when you've discovered it." He was acting a play to save her. A heartbreaking play. "You guys know how useless she is, right? I knew my sister would just be a burden, so I planned to leave her behind." The brother told the guard in a disdainful tone, but his eyes avoided looking at Mira. He was using the cruelest words to convince them that Mira had nothing to do with this plan. "Anyway, I'm tired of hearing her babble every night, so take me instead," Mira's brother suggested decisively. Mira listened to those words like thunder striking her ears. She was stunned, tears on the verge of spilling. She understood he was sacrificing himself so she could be safe. The young man looked straight into the enemy's eyes, fearless. "So, what is the perfect punishment you have?" He was ready to accept any punishment, as long as his sister was peaceful. The bravery and love of the brother shone even in the darkest circumstance. Mira was taken back to the workroom, dazed like a soulless corpse. The soldier announced coldly, "Your brother has been taken to Uvral. Don't plan to escape anymore. Start working." Mira looked down at her bare feet tied with rope, feeling like the whole world just collapsed under her feet. I'm sorry you had to lie for me." Mira sobbed in loneliness. She tormented herself for her weakness and uselessness. If only she was stronger, if only she didn't reveal a flaw. The late apology echoed in the empty space. Nona looked at Mira, horrified hearing the story. She couldn't believe the great sacrifice Mira's brother made for his sister. Mira sat there, distant eyes containing indescribable pain. Two tragic fates met in prison, sharing pain and loss. Nona decided to reveal the truth. "I know your name, because I was the one who found you." Mira looked up, surprised. But then she bowed her head again, voice full of despair. "After that, I was no longer stupid enough to try to run away." The event with her brother completely extinguished the flame of hope in her heart. Mira recounted. "And that was where I found you washed ashore. There is a river flowing near the base. I planned to do laundry there." Turns out Mira was the one who saved Nona when she drifted to the riverbank that day. Fate tied the two of them together before they met in this prison. Mira bowed her head apologetically. "I'm sorry. It was my carelessness. Because I told the police officer that I found someone fallen there. They just discovered that you are a wanted witch." Mira's naivety and kindness inadvertently pushed Nona into the enemy's hands. Mira advised Nona, "I think you should give up on that idea." She didn't want to see Nona follow in her footsteps. "I won't stop you if you want to run away, but I can't help either." Mira was too tired and afraid to participate in another escape plan. Nona was shocked remembering the warning. "The moment anyone knows that you are a wizard, it's all over." She shuddered in fear. The fate of wizards like her seemed destined to be tragic and inescapable. The next morning, a call woke Mira. "Get up, Mira, Mira." The guard opened the cell door, chains rattling. Mira trudged out, starting a new day of hard labor, eyes soulless and resigned. Nona watched Mira's silhouette disappear behind the bars. "Guess she gave up," she thought with a sad face. Mira's resignation was a painful reminder of the brutal power of this regime, where hope is strangled daily. One day, the guard announced, "You don't need to go to work today." Mira surprised, "Huh? Earlier than usual to work. Did something happen?" This unusual change made her worried, sensing something bad about to happen. And then, bad news hit. "You will be sent to Uvral." Mira opened her eyes wide in horror. Uvral, where her brother was taken, a place easy to go but hard to return. Extreme fear enveloped the young girl. Nona overheard the guard's conversation. "We received news that a bureau officer caused the death of a citizen in an accident. They hit a pedestrian on the mountain road with their carriage. Luckily, no other witnesses besides the dead victim. A crime is being covered up. That is when you come in. The bureau will blame the accident on you." Mira stood frozen hearing the sentence for her. She would become a scapegoat for someone else's sin. The extreme injustice made her speechless. "The trial will just be a formality. After that, you will be taken straight to Uvral. You will have to bear the guilt before the whole world." The officer coldly announced Mira's fate. She would be branded a murderer and exiled to hell on earth. There is a special prison reserved for those criminals. But wizard criminals are not sent to any normal Uvral. The truth about Uvral is gradually revealed. Not just a prison, but a specially cruel detention place for wizards. Is this really the Bureau's decision? Ridiculous! Another female prisoner screamed in outrage. "Happens often." The guard replied indifferently. Absurdity and cruelty became normal here. Mira listened, limbs going limp. "We did the same thing to your brother." The guard's cruel confession was like a knife cutting Mira's heart. Turns out her brother was also falsely accused, turned into a scapegoat like she is now. "As soon as we discovered your escape plan, a murder happened. Your brother took the blame and was also sent to the special prison." The heartbreaking truth exposed. The failed escape plan not only got them caught again, but also exploited to cover up the Bureau's crime. "That is the only life you will have. The only choice for witches is to obey humans." Mira cried in despair. Her life, her brother's life, and countless other wizards are just pawns in the hands of brutal rulers. "Got it? Go." The soldier dragged Mira along the hallway. The weak girl had no strength left to resist, only letting fate push her to the darkest place. A gun pointed straight at Mira's head. She stared at the black muzzle, tears in her eyes. The fear of imminent death paralyzed her. Memories of her brother returned. Image of the young man smiling radiantly. "I want to follow the call of my heart." That sentence was like a reminder of the unfinished dream of freedom. "Brother," Mira called silently in pain. "Where I left my heart." "Don't remember." Mira mumbled in delirium. She lost too much, lost her brother, lost hope, and seemed to lose herself too. "What is it?" Bang! A loud noise rang out from Mira's cell. Nona and the guard startled, turning back. The soldier opened the room door, and both stood frozen before the horrific scene inside. In the empty room, Mira hung suspended in midair. The wooden chair toppled at her feet. She chose death to escape, to not endure any more injustice and humiliation. A tragic ending for the poor young girl. "What did you do?" The guard shouted, rushing to support Mira. Nona stood rooted to the spot, covering her mouth in horror. What? She couldn't believe her eyes. The newly met inmate friend, who once saved her, has now ended her own life. Nona trembled, tears flowing. It was because I said that to her. The moment anyone discovers you are a wizard, then everything ends. She blamed herself for sowing despair in Mira's heart, pushing her to the dead end. Click, click, bang, clang, la. Sounds of unlocking and opening doors rushed. Other guards ran over, causing commotion in the detention area. This shocking event broke the dead silence of the prison. Mira, hold her body. Hey, you better not die. What do I report to headquarters? The guard tried to give first aid to Mira while screaming in panic. He feared responsibility more than the girl's life. I will go call other officers. Another soldier ran to call for backup. Nona huddled in the corner, witnessing the chaos with wide eyes full of fear. Suddenly, the soldier giving first aid to Mira fell back, thud, holding his face in pain. Nona stared amazed seeing Mira, thought to be dead, standing there with an angry face. She isn't dead, and she just attacked the guard. The guard panicked, realizing he couldn't move. His arm was stuck to something. Thin threads wrapped around him, sewing his sleeve tight to the bed sheet. Am I sewn to the bed? He shouted in utter shock. Mira used her last moments to set a sophisticated trap. She didn't commit suicide. She was creating a chance to escape. Close-up of Nona's sharp eyes as she threads the needle. In that chaotic moment, she decided to act. She wouldn't let Mira's reckless sacrifice be in vain. Snap! Nona stepped quickly in the underground corridor. A thin thread wrapped around her neck, the other end connected to the tied soldier. Make a noise and I will stab your eye. The soldier growled threateningly, but Nona didn't care. She pulled the thread hard, strangling him, forcing him to silence. Nona raised the magic needle high, smiling confidently. Everything is much easier when I don't have to hide my magic. She shed the shell of fear, ready to use her power to fight for freedom. The soldier looked at her with extreme horror. Sorry, I don't have time to wait for my execution, Nona said decisively. She turned to the tightly bound soldier. I need to find out where my mother is. Now she is the one in control. All I want is to live in peace with my family like before. That is my only wish, Nona shouted, releasing the suppressed feelings for so long. That simple desire is the strongest motivation driving her to act. What do you want to do, Mira? What you need to do to keep yourself? Mira asked, looking at Nona with hopeful eyes. Nona turned back, eyes steady. I will leave here to find my mother. The rebellion begins. Two girls with bravery and the power of despair will together break the chains, finding freedom and justice for themselves. In panic, Mira stood rooted in the middle of the messy room. I want to do? She asked herself, sweat pouring on her forehead. In front of her, the guard lay motionless on the floor, hands and feet tied tight. A broken chair lay upside down. Nona stood there, looking down at the soldier with a cold face. What? Mira exclaimed, unable to believe what she was seeing. Did Nona just knock out a guard? Nona turned to Mira, eyes steadfast but also tired. At this point, they will either arrest or kill both of us. Her words were like a death sentence but also the naked truth. No way back now. Nona looked straight into Mira's eyes, posing the decisive question. You decide, Mira. Will you go with me, or will you stay here? Mira clenched her fists, confused and afraid. Go or stay, freedom or death. I can't go, Mira whispered, voice trembling. Her face pale, haggard, eyes sunken from fatigue and despair. But then, suddenly her eyes opened wide in horror. She realized something. A terrifying truth just hit. In Mira's mind, a tormenting thought appeared. If I run, then I will still be hunted. For the rest of my life, right? The freedom Nona promised seemed just an illusion. The outside world is as cruel as this prison. Mira recalled the image of her brother, who sacrificed freedom so she could be safe. I will stay. I'm sorry, she decided in tears. And when it is my fault that how can I run away alone when my brother? Conscience didn't allow her to abandon her brother to seek life for herself. Nona heard Mira's answer, initially stunned, but then she quickly regained composure. A sharp smile appeared on her dirty face. I understand. All right. She accepted her friend's decision, but her eyes glinted with another plan. Close-up of Mira's face, eyes wide with fear and confusion. She didn't understand what Nona planned to do. Nona's smile made her feel uneasy. Mira bowed her head, voice choked. I'm really sorry. She felt she betrayed Nona's trust. But Nona just smiled gently, turning to walk away. Then I beg your leave. If that is the truth, then it is absolutely not wrong for you. Nona turned back to say, eyes warm and understanding. Don't worry. You are following your heart, right? That sentence was like a consolation, a forgiveness. Two friends looked at each other one last time, each pursuing a separate path, but both heading towards their heart. Suddenly, Mira startled, eyes wide in horror. She saw something behind Nona. Wait! A black shadow rushed out from the darkness, trying to stop Nona. At the same time, a blonde guard appeared, screaming in rage. Don't think you can escape this. You will be caught faster than a blink. The escape was discovered. Nona quickly rushed at the guard. He was caught off guard, falling to the floor. Nona used rope to tie him tight. Damn it! He cursed. Mira stood there, stunned, watching Nona struggle with the big soldier. Hey! What are you doing? The soldier shouted in confusion and anger. Bang! A gunshot rang out loudly. Nona startled, turning back. Mira was standing there, holding a smoking pistol, eyes steadfast but also extremely tired. The guard was stunned, not believing his eyes. Mira, the weak girl, just fired. Nona looked at Mira in horror. The black-haired girl sat on the floor, the gun falling from her hand. Mira bowed her head, shaking all over. Nona couldn't believe Mira dared to do that. Mira pointed the gun at her leg. Bang! Another shot rang out. The ankle shackle shattered, falling to the ground. Clang! Mira gasped in pain but released. Mira, Mira! Nona shouted in fear. Mira clutched her chest, tears streaming. Follow my heart. Finally, all this time, just this is enough to break everything. She realized freedom lay right within reach, if only she was brave enough to grasp it. Mira looked up at Nona, eyes earnest. Will you take me with you? I decided to stop lying to myself. Nona looked at her friend, eyes wide in surprise. Mira changed her decision. She wants to go with Nona. Nona smiled brightly, a smile containing jubilation and determination. Of course! You broke the lock. A mysterious voice rang out. The tide guard looked up in fear. Nona and Mira quickly left the cell. Let's hurry and go before they chase us. But the escape route wasn't that easy. A monstrous creature with a padlock-shaped head blocked their way. No! It growled, raising a staff. Nona looked at it with a crazy smile, ready to fight. Running. Hallway, the lock-headed creature rushed forward, holding a sharp weapon. Mira panicked, eyes wide in horror. The chase began. Nona launched a strong kick at a large wooden chest. Clang! Wood fragments flew. But right after, she was knocked down. Thud. Mira turned back, looking worriedly at her friend lying prone on the floor. The lock-headed creature stood tall, holding a giant key sword. What is that? It looked at its weapon in surprise. Mira looked at it with a horrified face. Mira - Nona called weakly from the ground. The monstrous creature raised its weapon high, preparing to deal the finishing blow to Nona. Mira looked up in despair, sweating profusely. Altoare. Sewing magic. Nona shouted. She used a large needle to pierce through her hand, activating powerful magic. A beam of energy shot out, piercing the monster's chest. The monster roared in pain. Nona and Mira pulled the chain together, trying to restrain it. But its strength was too great. It raised the giant key and smashed it hard onto the ground, boom, creating a shockwave knocking everything away. Not since she broke that thing. Now she can't escape anymore. Another soldier watched via camera, laughing triumphantly. Meanwhile, Nona worriedly asked Mira, Mira, are you okay? Yes. Mira was holding a small broken device in her hand. Magic tool? The two girls looked at the broken handcuffs, amazed. This is not a normal shackle tool. Those things are made so humans can use magic. It is a magic tool. The soldier explained, revealing the secret of the Bureau's detention technology. Nona realized the terrifying truth. Wizards are no longer the only ones who can use magic. Research on magic tools has progressed steadily. The world is changing, and the threat to them is growing larger. And that magic shackle needs a special key to unlock it safely. Mira shooting her own handcuffs was an extremely risky act and could cause immeasurable consequences. The lock-headed monster growled. And that thing will appear on your head. That is the kind of magic it was granted. It was talking about a curse or protection mechanism of the shackle. Tied tight, the monster braced itself, breaking the wall, crack, crack. The strength was terrible. It was trying to break out to continue the pursuit. Dead end. The soldier laughed savagely. The monster broke the wall, rushing in. Giant key smashing onto the floor, boom. Nona and Mira sat amidst the rubble, extremely terrified. The monster pointed its weapon at a young prisoner tied to a bed. Do not speak. Accept your fate and dash. It was executing the Bureau's cruel order. Suddenly, crack, rip, a sword struck the guard's shoulder from behind. What? But I am Dash. He fell down. Nona and Mira looked in surprise at the mysterious rescuer. The monster used the large key to turn open the iron gate. Click. Two girls watched, not knowing what awaited behind that gate. Silence, silence, silence. The monster approached, constantly repeating the command. Mira shouted, Nona, run. But Nona was stuck. I can't move anymore. Her leg was stuck tight to the floor by a large lock device. A shaggy bearded man was dragged on the ground. Drag. He reached out in desperation. Nona lay prone, screaming "No!" Witnessing that scene, a rough object rolled on the ground. Wham! The monster landed a heavy punch. Dust flew blindingly. Nona realized the opponent's weakness. So you are made of magic, right? She swung a large block weapon, knocking the monster down to the floor. The monster was trapped in an iron cage, screaming, and those bars resist magic. Couldn't escape anymore. BZZT. The monster was electrocuted violently, screaming in pain. Mira looked horrified at Nona standing there with a blank face, holding a stick. The guard lay motionless at her feet. Thud. Bang. Nona had defeated him. Huh? Let's go, Mira. Nona called, reaching out to Mira sitting on the ground. Nona smiled brightly, but her eyes were haunted. I promised to take you along, right? Mira looked at her friend, both grateful and afraid of Nona's change. On your leg. That is a form of lock magic. Nona realized Mira's leg was locked by a metal device. Altoare. She used magic to try opening it. Click. The unlocking sound rang out. Mira sighed in relief. But Nona appeared worried. What? I was right. Magic dissipates when you unlock. Nona said. The magic on Mira's leg disappeared. Anyway, let's get out of here first, before other guards find us. Nona pulled Mira to run. A monstrous hand picked up the plate. Snatch. The door slammed shut, bang, in the dark corridor. An imprisoned character swayed in the dark, clutching the metal ring, weary, waiting in despair. Isn't he wasting time? A voice rang out beside the messy card table. 3 men playing cards. You go call him, one ordered. How long has it been since he went looking for Meera? They started worrying about their accomplice's absence. All right, A soldier reluctantly stood up to open the door. Bang! Really? He was knocked down immediately. Clang! Ouch! I lose! Ha ha ha! Laughter in the card room died out when a bloody soldier walked in. Hey, what's wrong? Chaos began to spread. Two lock-headed monsters appeared in the dark, baring teeth, laughing grimly. They are the most terrifying jailers of this place. Nona and Mira ran for their lives on the dirt road, heading towards the large iron gate. Freedom was right before their eyes. How did you unlock it? Just now, Mira asked while running. Yes, this base used to be a simple relay station for communication. Is there really nothing here but forest? Nona explained. My magic, Altoare, uses thread and needle to sew anything together. I tried using the needle to pry the moving parts inside the lock to open it. Nona revealed her secret. I just thought doing the same with that lock would work. I even opened Mom's closet this way once and got scolded badly. Nona giggled, recalling a childhood memory, reducing the tension. Thank you so much. But your intelligence saved me, Mira said gratefully. Both continued running deep into the forest. Wham! Nona was unexpectedly hit hard from behind. She fell down, eyes wide in surprise. A large object appeared behind her head. A huge black shadow appeared. You were told. Do as. Another lock-headed monster stood in front of them, holding a sharp weapon. Nona was terrified to the extreme. It followed us here. Nona screamed, seeing a giant lock falling on her head. Nona! Mira wailed. The monster ordered. Sit. Down. Mevajalara. Sinking magic. Nona was hung suspended in the air by the large lock, painful and helpless. Thud. Nona fell to the ground, coughing. She was in pain, exhausted, but still tried to struggle up. The lock-headed monster stood there, confused, looking at its weapon. Mira lay on the ground, asking, What is it? Nona was dragged on the ground, thud-flop. She was tied to a wooden board, in pain and panic. Pull hard. Unlock it while you can. I used magic to make the lock heavier. A female voice rang out. It was Nona's mother. She appeared with a sly smile, using magic to help her daughter. It only lasts a few seconds. Hurry, Nona worriedly urged. Stop, Nona screamed, trying to remove the rope wrapped around her head. A thorn whip lashed hard in the air. Nona coughed violently. The fight wasn't over. The lock-headed monster was tied tight by thin ropes, screaming in pain. A giant needle rushed down from above. Nona, are you okay? Thank you, Mira. Nona stood up, drawing the bowstring, ready to fight on. Your magic makes things heavier? Mira asked in surprise. You saved me. That is amazing magic. Mira praised Nona happily. So, do you think that head is also a lock? Two girls looked at the monster tied to the pillar, coming up with a bold idea. I believe so. Nona hesitated, but her eyes were full of determination. If I unlock that, then maybe this magic will also disappear. Nona worried about the risk. Altoare. Nona threw two needles hard at the monster. The needle rushed straight into the keyhole on the monster's head. FWIP. Understood. Click. The lock on the monster's head clicked open. It turned into something else. Two girls were horrified seeing the monster's true form after being unlocked. But surely it must have some effect. I will try again. Nona persisted. Despite the monster struggling, breaking the rope, snap, snap. Scatter. Threads. Threads flew everywhere, wrapping around both. The monster grabbed the thread tight, pulling Nona down. Yank! Nona was pulled flying through the forest, screaming in fear. Nona fell upside down, eyes wide in horror. Memories rushed back. Nona giving her mother a handmade handbag. Happy birthday! The mother surprised and moved. Nona, did you make this? Amazing. My little genius. Little Nona back then was very happy and proud. Nona remembers meeting Mrs. Lancia on the street. She smiled back at her. Mrs. Lancia asked about the bag. The bag you are holding, is it handmade? Do you want to join a sewing class with me? Mrs. Lancia, a young girl then, invited Nona to study together. If you learn, you will create something even more amazing than that. I bet so. The encouragement of the new friend opened a new horizon for Nona. And if you continue like that for half a year, you won't be able to recognize your stuff as handmade anymore. Playful warning about progress. Sewing classes sound interesting. Nona overcame her timidity to accept the invitation. I really like this bag. Nona's mother smiled happily, holding the bag her daughter made. It is the perfect size for me. It is so lovely, and the embroidered flowers here are my favorite flowers. The gift contained Nona's love for her mother. A bag made just for me, and there is no second one like it in the world. Nona realized the value of uniqueness and affection sent in every stitch. Back to reality, Nona opened her eyes wide in surprise. The image of her mother smiling gently appeared in her mind, fueling her strength. Nona lay on the ground, tired but her eyes no longer afraid. She remembered everything, remembered the love, the skills learned. That is her strongest weapon to face every challenge.